And I'm well aware of your policy about things that are on the agenda, but I'm not clear on how to deal with things that are not on your agenda that I believe should be on your agenda. And to be clear about that, I believe that you are due some sort of a presentation from PGM on the questions you asked on January the 12th, but I don't see those on the agenda for this evening. I expected a presentation with PowerPoint and the whole bit because this was a big deal. It's a big deal when the majority of the Planning Commission says we need more information on what the effects of these regulations are on traffic safety and also on the environment. And I don't see that on the agenda tonight. And so my question is, when is that going to happen? Is it on the agenda and I missed it? Or are you going to do it at some later time?
No, I won't respond to your question, Mr. Hastings. And staff who's in the audience, please correct me if I'm wrong. They are going to make a formal presentation this evening because that is the last item on the agenda. They're not only going to address the concerns that this planning body had in relationship to the previous time in terms of traffic, and I think environmental, and I think there was a couple other adequate public facility issues that were brought to this body's attention, and they will brief, because we have new planning commission members who have not heard a lot of this, and they need to hear that so they can make their own decision.
Is there a document somewhere that has this? I mean, I tried to come here prepared so I would know what was going on, and I don't see a document dedicated to this process.
It was, from what I understand from Mrs. Pickrell, the recording secretary, it was on board docs.
I read all the documents that are on board docs. I did not see even the questions you asked, much less the answers that you asked. So I'm not sure where this is going, and I'm sort of in no man's land here because this is important. The Planning Commission thought it was important. You didn't vote on the 12th because you wanted answers, and for years I've sat here and watched this whole process and wondered, okay, where's this going? What happens with adequate public facilities? What do they really mean? And why is the traffic always getting worse? And why is it that when I do my survey work in Mattawoman Creek, it's always dirtier than it was last year? So either the process is wrong, the ordinance is wrong, or the application of the ordinance is wrong. So I was relieved when the Planning Commission asked the question you did on the 12th. And I've been sitting around waiting for a kid looking forward to Christmas for this to happen because I don't get to ask those questions, but the Planning Commission does. So I would like to know that this is being handled seriously and that someone besides the applicant is actually responding. That's not clear from what I read in board docs. I'll look at board docs. I did see a staff report, and I did see something in there about the 12th, but it also was a note in there that said that portion of the staff report was written by the applicant. I have a serious problem with that. So you tell me, can I go on and ask my question, or am I in no man's land? What's going to go on here tonight relative to these important questions that have never been asked before and for which there has never been a public hearing? Now, one way out of this whole thing here is just to have a public hearing. I think I have people back here that would support that because this just doesn't work out very well.
If I may, and Elizabeth Theobald's counsel for the Planning Commission here.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Is this any better?
Yeah.
Okay. You asked about the questions that were raised by the prior Planning Commission, or the ones without our new members right now. At the time, my understanding of how everything has gone, because we do have new members, we went ahead and incorporated the questions that were asked by the prior Planning Commission into the current report. I believe that did in fact include an addendum. Is that correct, Mr. Ball? So therefore, that should have already been incorporated into it. We've done, I believe it was staff's belief that to give too many documents was not going to make sense to this planning board, so that they could go ahead and hear everything from the very beginning to the very end, including the concerns that were raised by the planning
right, and I'm all for that, but you said we have incorporated them into the plan. Staff, but staff did not write the comments that are addressing the Planning Commission's issues on the 12th. It says so right in the staff report. So if that's the case, if that is really true, and then I want a piece of the action. If the applicant is going to be allowed to provide a lens for you to look at, to see his view of the real world, I want to bring my own lens to the party. And one way to do that would be if you would provide a public hearing so that all sides can be heard. That's one of the reasons you have public hearings, so you can see the perspective of what's going on. I don't know enough to debate this subject tonight. I came here tonight hoping that I was going to learn something new. I didn't come all this way to sit and listen to the same snow job that the applicant has been giving all along. I want to see something concrete, and if that's not going to happen, then we should have a public hearing. I should get my chance. These people back here that came tonight should get their chance, and if other people can get the right pieces into the staff report, I want a piece of that action.
Well, Mr. Hastings, staff are the experts on this. You have the environmental section, you have the adequate public facilities, and I would think in their presentation that they're going to address a lot of those issues that have been brought up.
And I'm hoping that, and I've always thought that before, but I've read a lot of staff reports. I never saw one before where credit for the data in the document was given to the applicant. It's always been the staff, and I've always been ready to accept the fact that they are the experts. We pay them to be the experts. They do this day to day, and they know a lot more about this than I do. I come here to be educated. They're already educated. But I don't come here to be educated just to hear what the applicant has to say. So I'm going to sit here, and that's going to be my lens, because I've already read the report. And I know I can't talk about the report, and I don't want to talk about the report here. What I want to see, I'd like to see a public hearing to cover these areas that have never been covered before, and for which there's no precedent. And now you, the Planning Commission, only have the applicant's opinion to make your decision on, unless there's going to be a lot more to this report than you provided in board docs.
Well, this body can certainly ask, especially the new members, can ask as many questions as they would like to staff, and some of those questions may be reflective of what some of the questions that we asked back, I don't know, several months ago, and I might have some questions too to ask staff. So we can certainly do our best we can to bring those issues to the light and have staff address them.
Okay, and I'll be happy with it. I think you should probably start off with a statement of the questions to make sure that they're covered, because what I saw in the board docs was not that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings.